Okay, if your stomach clenches a little bit every time you look at your grocery receipt,
Yeah.
and let's be honest, who isn't feeling the brutal pressure of skyrocketing food prices in 2025, then listen up.
Yeah, it's hitting everyone hard.
Right. So we're not talking about, budgeting apps or credit card points today. This is different. We're talking pure, hard-earned financial wisdom. Stuff that really stands the test of time.
Exactly. Our deep dive today takes us back, way back, to the Great Depression. Now, this wasn't just a tough time. It was a period that demanded absolute resourcefulness.
Total necessity, right?
Totally. It forced kitchens to adopt practices that, well, they're astonishingly effective for modern budgets. What's truly fascinating here is how these survival tactics from the 1930s are basically a blueprint for smart savings today.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission here is to really dig into the sources, extract the deepest insights, and deliver 15 specific frugal strategies.
Yeah, really practical stuff.
And we found that adopting this Depression-era mindset could realistically save you, our listener, over $3,000 this year. I mean, that's significant money.
It really is, and the best part, it's about being creative, not feeling deprived. That's the key. All right, let's start with what I think is maybe the most important shift. It's a mindset thing, radical waste reduction.
Mm-hmm.
The approach back then was simple. You just couldn't afford to waste a single crumb. Which brings us right to the first fundamental principle. Use every last scrape. Yeah, the zero waste philosophy wasn't some cool trend. It was survival. Plain and simple. And when you look at the numbers now, it's kind of shameful how relevant this still is.
How bad is it?
Well, the historical research highlighted in our sources, it reveals that modern Americans waste nearly 30% of the groceries they buy.
30%. That's, wow, think about it. You buy 10 items, 3 go straight in the garbage. That's hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars every year just tossed out.
Yeah.
It's astounding to think we throw away like a third of our potential meals. So what did they do differently? What are the actual hacks here?
Well, it was often small habits, right? Scraping out the very last bit of jam or peanut butter from the jar.
Okay, I can picture that.
Diligently collecting vegetable ends, carrot tops, onion skins, those mushroom stems, and saving them in a container, then boiling them down into this powerful and totally free vegetable stock.
Right, instead of buying cartons of broth.
Exactly. And stale bread, never tossed. It became breadcrumbs or maybe used in savory puddings. Every single ingredient potentially had a second life.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You connect that habit, that no-waste habit, to meal planning. What comes next? Well, the next crucial strategy emerges naturally. Cooking once, eating twice, or more. Leftovers weren't just an option, they were mandatory. They were banked time and money. The utility aspect. I like that. If you're already standing there making a huge pot of chili or a big casserole, it takes almost no extra effort to just double the recipe, right? Then you portion it, you freeze it, and bam, you've eliminated the need to order expensive takeout on Tuesday because you're too tired to cook.
Precisely. And that avoidance of impulse takeout, that's where the dual savings time and money really start to multiply. It adds up fast.
Okay, so that mindset, doing more with less, it required another skill too, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. Mastering substitutions. Ingredients often ran out or were just too expensive, forcing cooks to improvise constantly. It was second nature.
Okay, but substitutions can be tricky. You mentioned powdered milk was a staple in the sources. I'm curious, did they address the taste factor? Because for a lot of modern shoppers, that feels like a big compromise.
That's a really fair point. And the sources do explain it. They didn't typically, drink powdered milk straight like we might think.
Oh, okay.
It was mostly used in baking or cooking in casseroles, where the flavor difference was pretty negligible or easily masked by spices and other ingredients.
So it wasn't about drinking a glass of it.
Not usually, no. Think more like using flaxseed or maybe applesauce to replace eggs as binders in baking. It's not always a perfect one-to-one swap, taste-wise, but it saves money. And it keeps the meal flowing without needing an extra trip to the store for just one missing ingredient. It's about radical self-reliance, really.
Radical self-reliance. I like that. Okay, and wrapping up this sort of efficiency section, there's the clever strategy of meat extenders. This sounds like a great way to respect the budget without, going totally vegetarian if you don't want to.
Absolutely. Meat was expensive then, just like it is now, maybe even more so relatively. So to make, say, a pound of ground beef feed 8 people instead of 4,
How'd they do that?
you integrate affordable staples, things like oats, cooked beans, lentils, maybe rice, mixed right into the ground meat, especially good for dishes like meatloaf or meatballs or sloppy joes.
Ah, okay, so it bulks it up.
Exactly. It adds volume, adds fiber too, and dramatically cuts the cost per serving. But crucially, everyone still gets that meat flavor and the satiety they expect from the meal.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if minimizing kitchen waste is kind of the defensive financial strategy, then maybe maximizing protein purchases is the aggressive offensive move. Let's talk about shifting how we approach the main part of the meal.
Right. And the key lesson from the 1930s here is that meat was generally viewed more as a flavor agent, not the primary substance of the meal.
A flavor agent.
Yeah, they practiced treating meat as a condiment, not the main event. The bulk of the meal, the filling part, came from cheaper starches and legumes, potatoes, beans, lentils, that kind of thing.
I really like that phrase, flavor agent. It completely reframes the plate, doesn't it? Instead of a huge steak taking center stage,
Right.
you have maybe a hearty stew or just a small amount of beef flavors, the whole pot of vegetables and potatoes.
Exactly. And our sources were really clear on this. Just cutting your average meat portion in half and replacing that space on your plate with lentils or beans can save you hundreds of dollars annually. Hundreds, just from that one change. Without reducing the overall volume of food you're eating. You're still full. Okay. And this brings us to something you mentioned earlier, a huge single strategy savings opportunity. The whole chicken advantage. Ah, yes, the mighty whole chicken. Buying it whole versus pre-cut parts yields substantially more meals for a significantly lower cost per pound. It's a powerhouse.
I'm fascinated by the financial leverage here. How exactly does this one purchase become so powerful? The source suggested it could save over $500 a year. That's a big chunk of our $3,000 goal.
It is. And that $500 figure comes from multi-stage utilization. It's not just one thing. First, you get the roast chicken for one dinner. Simple enough.
At meal 1.
Second, the cooked leftover meat gets shredded. Perfect for tacos or chicken salad or soup the next day. Meal 2, maybe 3.
Right.
But the real kicker, the biggest savings component, is the carcass, the bones.
Oh.
You boil those bones, maybe with those veggie scraps we talked about earlier.
The free ones, to make this incredibly rich, homemade broth. Now think about this. A carton of decent quality store-bought broth can easily cost $5, maybe $6. Yeah, at least.
If you use just 1 carton a week, switching to free, homemade broth instantly saves you over $250 a year, right there.
Wow.
Add that saving to the lower per pound cost of the whole bird compared to parts, and yeah, that $500 figure becomes very, very realistic over a year.
That's incredible. It totally reframes a chicken carcass from being waste into being like a raw financial resource.
Exactly. It's a mindset shift again.
Okay. Now let's move to staples. Another common practice back then was baking from scratch.
The Depression-era kitchen really maximized basic, cheap ingredients like flour, sugar, yeast, because buying them in bulk was cheap and it avoided the high hidden costs of convenience food.
Right. We pay a big premium for someone else mixing stuff for us, like box cake mixes or store-bought bread. What's the specific breakdown on bread, for instance?
Okay, baking a simple loaf of sandwich bread at home, just flour, water, yeast, salt, costs roughly, maybe $2, perhaps $2.50 today, depending on your ingredient costs. Right. A comparable loaf from the store easily runs $5 to $6, sometimes more for the fancier stuff.
Okay, double or triple the cost.
Easily. So if you're a household that goes through, say, 3 loaves a week, making your own saves you $10 to $12 minimum every single week.
Wow. Okay, do the math.
That's over $500 a year just on bread. It's a really powerful incentive to learn or relearn some basic cooking skills.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that brings us perfectly to our final section. The strategic discipline needed outside the kitchen. The stuff you do before and during the actual shopping trip, right? The planning and execution. And the first principle of smart shopping here is all about timing and sourcing. Prioritize what's in season.
Makes sense. Back in the 1930s, you simply didn't see fresh strawberries in December, did you? It just wasn't an option.
Nope, not unless you can them yourself in the summer. Whereas today, global supply chains mean we can get almost anything, anytime, but usually at a peak price during the off-season.
Exactly. When a crop is local, abundant, and naturally ready to harvest, the price drops significantly. It's simple supply and demand.
So how much can that save?
Well, the research we looked at suggests that by consciously sticking to seasonal produce, or even better, trying your hand at growing some of your own basics, maybe just herbs on a windowsill, you can cut your overall fruit and vegetable expenses by nearly 30%. That's just pure efficiency, working with nature's cycles.
30% on produce is huge. Okay, next, let's tackle the preparation. If you really want to hit that $3,000 goal, you have to nail the pregame. This starts with inventorying your pantry.
Yeah, this sounds a bit bureaucratic, maybe boring, but it's so vital. Before you even think about writing a shopping list, you absolutely must know what you already own.
We've all done it, right?
Yeah.
Bought a second bottle of ketchup.
Oh, yeah. Only to find the first one hiding in the back of the fridge 3 days later. Knowing your stock avoids that double buying, and it also ensures that the existing inventory, especially things maybe nearing their expiration date, gets used up first. It's planning based on what you actually have, not just what you feel like you need. Okay? And this strategy goes hand in hand with another wonderful, really traditional habit. Keeping a price book. Yes, I love this one. They literally wrote down prices in notebooks, pen and paper, to detect patterns, to know what a real sale price was.
So analog, but effective.
Totally.
In the modern world, this could be a simple spreadsheet, or maybe there's an app for it, I don't know.
Okay.
But the goal is identical. Tracking allows you to identify the genuine rock-bottom sale price versus just, a slightly reduced price made to look like a big deal, right? Spotting the real deals.
This is how you achieve that psychological victory of stocking up when things are at their absolute cheapest, rather than just reacting and buying something when you happen to run out, regardless of the price. Okay, powerful stuff. Now, let's hit the store itself with 2 really crucial in-store tactics. First one, ditch brand loyalty. Yeah, this is a big one. During times of real scarcity, brand names were pretty much meaningless. Cost and availability were everything.
Survival mode.
Exactly. And today, store brands, generics, they're often produced in the exact same factories as the big name brands.
Really? Same factories?
Often, yeah. Using very similar, sometimes identical ingredients, but they're sold at maybe a 30% to 50% discount.
Wow. What did the sources say about potential savings here?
The sources indicated that simply switching to generic or store brand versions of your commonly purchased items, think flour, sugar, canned goods, pasta, cleaning supplies, can cut your final grocery bill by as much as 40%.
40%. That's staggering.
It really is. It just requires overcoming years of marketing conditioning, But the payoff is absolutely substantial. Okay, that 40% saving is the kind of statistic that should make everyone pause in the aisle next time. The next point links directly to budget discipline. Shop with cash, not cards. This is about the strict envelope method or something similar. You allocate a fixed amount of physical cash for groceries for the week or the pay period.
Actual paper money.
Actual paper money. The act of physically handing over dollar bills creates this sort of painful psychological barrier to overspending that, let's face it, swiping plastic just doesn't have.
It feels different, doesn't it?
It really does. When the cash in the envelope is gone, the spending stops. Period.
Right.
Regardless of what might still be on your list, it forces tough choices right there in the store.
Okay, and speaking of discipline, there's one simple way to reduce accidental spending that requires almost no effort, just planning.
Yeah.
Shop less often.
Yeah, counterintuitive maybe, but effective. Every single trip to the grocery store introduces a new opportunity for impulse purchases.
Oh yeah, that magazine at the checkout, the candy bar, the clearance chocolate display.
Exactly, stuff that wasn't on your list. The goal should be one well-planned trip a week. Or, if you're a real master planner, maybe even bi-weekly. Fewer trips inherently means fewer opportunities for those unplanned, budget-busting purchases. Okay. Now, for the really serious bargain hunter, here's a slightly sneaky but apparently highly effective tactic. Shop late for discounts. The end-of-day deals. This is all about exploiting the store's need to clear out perishable inventory before it goes bad.
Right, they can't sell it tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So employees often slash prices, sometimes dramatically, on things like meat, baked goods, maybe deli items, and some produce right before closing time, say 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.
Okay.
Because those items won't be good enough or perhaps legally sellable the next morning. We saw one anecdote in the sources of a shopper who routinely saved 40% on prime cuts of meat just by timing their trip for that final hour of operation.
40% on steak just by going late.
Yeah. That's the difference between maybe splurging on steak once a month versus potentially getting a week's worth of discounted chicken or pork for the same price. It's strategic timing. That kind of tactical shopping feels like playing a sophisticated financial game, almost. Okay, finally, we loop back to something really fundamental from that era: community. A crucial element of Depression survival was barter and share. Absolutely. People genuinely relied on each other back then. It wasn't just sentiment, it was a survival mechanism.
And how can we apply that today?
Well, we can replicate that resilience, maybe swapping produce from backyard gardens with neighbors, joining bulk buying co-ops where families split the cost of large orders, or even utilizing food sharing apps and online groups to trade pantry extras you don't need.
Okay, like a modern-day barter system.
Exactly. It keeps good food out of landfills, which is great, but it also builds local community strength and connection. It addresses efficiency and social needs at the same time.
That's a great point.
So if we kind of synthesize all these points, from the zero waste kitchen philosophy to the strategic price book and late night shopping, the core lesson, I think, remains constant. Resourcefulness requires creativity.
Yeah.
They were forced into these behaviors out of sheer necessity. We today can choose them as the key to efficiency. It's about being smart, not feeling deprived.
Absolutely. We've gone through 15 distinct practices here, and their combined power. I mean, especially when you factor in things like that $500 potential saving from the whole chicken and the potential 40% saving just from ditching brand loyalty.
Right.
It really makes that $3,000 annual saving goal seem highly achievable.
It does. It's not pie in the sky.
And the ultimate takeaway, I think, is that this kind of efficiency mindset, this timeless wisdom, it does more than just save money. It promotes a greater awareness of our resources, reduces stress around food costs, and maybe even makes us feel a bit more capable.
Well said. And maybe this raises an important final question for you, the listener, to think about. If you don't feel like you have to overhaul your entire life overnight, but just pick maybe 3 of these timeless, often community-focused practices we discussed, perhaps committing to keeping that price book or buying the whole chicken next time, or maybe just inventorying your pantry tonight, which 3 will you choose? Which 3 could you apply this week to start changing your relationship with food and waste and, start keeping more of that cash in your pocket?